Real estate agents get stuck at all levels, and there's different things that get agents stuck at each individual level. So in this video, I just finished an interview where I did a live business audit with my buddy Chris Elliott, who is an agent that did just a hair under $1 million in GCI last year. His goal this year is to grow the business, and we talked about leverage, both on his personal production as well as growing his real estate team. So if you're interested in learning my advice of what I shared with him based on growing his team, based on growing his personal production, and what he should do with his 20,000 person database, watch this video and make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. If you like stuff like this, comment down below. I'm gonna go ahead and dive right in for time's sake, because I know, well, I might as well wait 1 minute while people are hopping in here, but I want to make sure you get as much out of this as possible. I'm sure most of the group watching is going to watch it on a recording. Yep. I'm going to take extensive notes here. I'm actually going to record myself taking notes also. That way you can go back and use this if you want to go back in notes as well too, right? So you can see the video and where we were taking the notes as we were going. So I'll record this also.
How are you doing, Carly?
Good. How are you?
I'm well.
Excited?
Nervous.
Nervous is good.
Check to see my flies up and make sure.
Hey, you got a suit and tie on. You look great.
Yeah, you look sharp.
There you go.
As always. Okay, I got my stuff on Do Not Disturb. I want to dive right in because I know you got 45 minutes.
Yep.
I want to make the most out of it. And most people are going to watch the recording. So
yeah.
First of all, now what if anything is off limits? I know we talked about this before and you seem like you're all good, but I just want to make sure I confirm.
I'm open book, man. So go for it.
Cool.
And appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. Okay, so let's dive in. Well, why don't you do an introduction real quick? So, because I know who you are, I'm being selfish. Why don't you introduce yourself real quick and then I'll dive in.
Yeah. So my name is Chris Elliott. I am based out of the Richmond, Virginia, Central Virginia market. Last year we did 83 units for I think like 950-ish and some change GCI. I've got as of November of last year, I had 2 sales agents on the team, as well as a full-time in-person administrator and a full-time virtual assistant. We lost the 2 agents this past November, so now it is myself, full-time admin, full-time VA, and we've got an agent in the brokerage that we've partnered with in the function of a showing agent. So she's not necessarily on the team; she's just a subcontractor, if you will.
Now, for goal here, the reason I wanted to start with the intro is your goal for the year is 750 in company dollar. By the way, last year I missing the $1 million GCI mark by like 50K. It's got to drive me crazy.
I was a little butthurt.
Yeah. You're gonna hit it for sure this year though, which is awesome. And okay, so 750 company dollar. That's the part I'm underlining here. And you want to run a 40% profit margin, right?
40% profit margin. Would also like to build or bring on 3 quality agents onto the team. And in an ideal world, build up 6 months reserves on the business. Like a lot of agents, we got bloated during COVID with expenses, and just want to build up cash reserves. At least bare minimum of 3 months. Would prefer to get to 6.
And you're talking about business reserves, right? Not your personal stuff, right?
Personal is taken care of, but the business,
Yeah, got it. Cool. Sounds good. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the financial model. So you want to build out a team, obviously. You're looking to hire agents, and you messaged me that you wish you had watched that financial model video prior to hiring just your first agent.
Yeah.
So let me make sure I understand the goal of the team. Like knowing the financial models, the rainmaker, which is what I would consider you now. And then that traditional teamerage, which is what we run, and then brokerage model. So like of those 4, which one do you see yourself wanting to grow?
Yeah. So like immediate target is the team, traditional team.
Okay.
At some point we may want to transition that to a teamerage, but not in the immediate future.
Got it. Yeah. I think the big thing I say there is teamerages are easier to grow bigger. and they're much less profitable than traditional teams as well too, right? Like if you're running a traditional team, you're right now your 40% profit margin for this year would probably drop down to 30%, right? With your agents doing deals and stuff. On a teamerage, it's like 10% profit margins are what most teamerages would be happy to have,
Yep.
factoring in everything as well too. So okay, that totally makes sense. That's what I would have assumed as well. I just wanted to make sure. Um, Now you mentioned you have no agents on your team right now, so you're kind of starting fresh.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. That makes that easier. Fresh start. Okay. Now break down your business for me. So you are going to do probably $1 million in GCI. We're going to do over $1 million in GCI this year. So where is that business going to come from?
Yeah, so roughly 50% of our business came from our sphere of influence this past year. Let me, if I may, ask me another
Hmm?
question. I'll pull that up.
Yeah,
I'll pull up our 2024 numbers.
I got it right here too. Um, I've got So between past clients, referrals, sphere of influence, you've got 20, 30, 40, yeah, 50% of your business is being SOI. Probably more than that even. The rest of your business, so like prospecting, what would you say your pillars of business are?
Yeah, so sphere of influence, past clients, that's definitely up there. We've got a relationship with a senior community that should
Okay.
be fairly good this year. Expireds for sale by owners. Open houses was not as good as it should have been. So that like one of my intentions is to beef that up because I sell like 40 listings a year and we only closed 4 deals from open houses last year, which is asinine to me. So getting that up is a priority. Um, and then everything else is kind of onesie twosies. I try to
Sure.
stick to like four and just keep it simple.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And me, before I dove into any of your numbers, I thought I would have guessed almost all of your business outside of SOI was coming from expireds and for sale by owners, just from our conversations in the past. Okay, so how many active listings do you generally hold at any given time?
Actives, not too many, just because in our market we're at 1 month supply of inventory. So
You're
are
selling everything
moving.
fast.
Yeah, we're selling everything fast. Like where we are currently right now, we've got 2 or 3 listings that are pending. I've got 12 listings that are in what we call pre-sign status, so that we're getting like we'll have 9 listings hit the market in the next 60 days.
Got it. Okay. So on like a given, I guess my question is on a given weekend, how many available open houses would you say you have?
Um, so the way I look at it is, for me personally, I only want to be doing opens on my new listings. Um,
For
so
you?
for me, so my goal this year is to do 40 opens personally.
Okay.
Um, so I'm considering if I'm going to sell 40 listings, um, I'm probably going to take closer to 45 or 50, and I'm sure there's going to be some in there that just aren't like open house worthy.
Sure.
Um, so I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, it does. So there's two things. So you want to do 40 open houses personally. Now, when you say 40, is that 40 weekends or is that 40 total?
That's 40 total.
Okay. Um, so and if you're going to take 40 listings, 45 listings, my point is how many listings are going to sit without being an open house being done that are your listings that could be your team members doing the open houses? That's my kind of my first question.
Oh, there's definitely going to be, opportunity left on the table. Either on like listings that I just don't want to host open, or like I'm willing to do one, but I don't want to live at the house
Yeah,
for a
yeah,
week.
totally. Okay, so that's where I imagine the 3+ agents will come in at.
Yeah, yeah.
Where did the three come from, out of curiosity?
Um, it sounded like a good number. No, the the mistake that I believe I made the previous round with the previous team was I had one agent who basically got fed. We had one agent that was part time who I didn't give any leads to, and then I had one agent that basically was fed everything, which he did an amazing job. But I also think it made him complacent in the sense that like he knew he could just wait around for me to hand him something. And
Yep.
what I'd like to do on version 2 is to build in the expectation that, hey, like we're going to provide some opportunity, but you also have to bring a third of your business to the table, or actually 2/3 of your business to the table yourself. And as much as I say that to somebody, if they know they're the only show in town, I think it's natural for somebody to say, yeah, that sounds good, Chris, but like I know you don't have anybody else to give this buyer to.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna circle back on that. Is your goal this year to increase your personal production from where you've been at in the past, or is it mostly to grow the team? Where do you want to focus the time?
Probably a terrible answer, but both, right? I would
Sure.
like to ramp up my listing production just for the sake of like profitability and making sure that I'm able to hit my personal financial goals.
Mm-hmm.
But from a long-term perspective, I need to add agents to the team. Otherwise, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just on a hamster wheel.
Yep. And I'm pulling up all the stuff you sent me as well too. I'm not going to share my screen just to not have it super public, but your where you spend your okay. Let's do your personal, and I'll move to team, right? Because that can be a very in-depth conversation. So I want to make sure we hit this too.
Yep.
Where you spend your money, it looks like from a marketing dollar perspective, you're spending most of it on your past client repeat referral business, almost all of it looks like.
Yeah. So of our lead gen spend last year, we spent 41% of our, let's call it, marketing dollar
Sure.
on our past client. But of our gross profit or our company dollar, 56% came from past clients. So like my goal is always like, what I realized in the past was I got romantic about certain lead sources, or I was dumping a whole lot of money into certain lead sources that weren't loving me back. So it's kind of like, all right, let's feed the golden goose that's actually producing the eggs, as opposed to feeding the lame duck that I'm hoping produces golden eggs.
For sure. And I think I'm guilty of that as well too. So,
Yeah.
so I'm looking at your return on investment and I'm pointing at a screenshot here or a
You can
spreadsheet here, but
you can show that one, my friend. I don't mind.
all right, let's do that. I think this will be helpful for those that are watching. So this is where we as a company have our biggest lesson learned that I think we finally learned this last year, like now, is you've got a couple green sources here, right? Green means you've made money on these. And then your total spend is all the way over here, right? So we're spending a good amount of money on a few of these, and this is the major one. So I got to ask, what is Avery Point?
That's a senior community that is where old people go to, live until they pass, I guess.
So what's the advertising spend there? Like,
That is
where is that money going?
literally like a B2B relationship where I'm just going and bringing lunch to the sales team. So like we literally spent $1,000 in bringing Chipotle and Chick-fil-A to the sales team and just yucking it up with them.
Yeah.
And that netted. One other thing that I think is important for team leaders to think through, that was kind of a hard lesson for me, and I know for a lot of team leaders, is I calculate my return on investment based on the gross profit, or another way to say it is company dollar. I'm
Yep.
not looking at, hey, I'm spending $1 on Zillow and we're doing a $2,000 commission, because if you're paying out a 50% split, that literally means you're on a 1-to-1, return on
Yep.
your investment. So that's company dollar after splits to agents are paid, after cost.
So let's do this really quick. This will be good for, I don't know if I don't even know if I can edit, can I edit this thing? I'll pull up a different sheet real quick. This is a formula that is like required for anybody spending money ever, right? Because you just hit the nail on the head. Is like, it's not we should look at revenue, right? Especially when you're looking profit margins. You want a profit margin based on top line revenue. You don't want to run your profit margin based on company dollar. That's the one caveat I will say. But this is your formula for spending money on a lead source. Is you are looking for your CAC, which stands for customer acquisition cost. So what does it cost you to do a deal, right? This would be in realtor terms. If I could type. cost per deal. And then the other thing you want to know, ideally, depending on lead sources, cost per lead, right? And then you would like to know your conversion rate. So the formula everybody needs to know is your customer acquisition cost. This is the simple way to do it, is your cost per lead divided by your conversion rate, right? So like this math formula here is required anytime you ever spend money, ever, 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 ever. So with your looking at, where did it go? So looking at this here, it's looking like you spent $1,000 to make 41,000 company dollar.
Yeah. Now the caveat I will say with that relationship, there at least not clear to me. I don't think there's more money I can dump into that to juice it, because
Sure.
the money is not necessarily what's bringing the return. It's just the relationship. So that's something I'm always on the struggle bus with, like with our past clients, of like, I would love to like dump another 100 grand if I can continue to get an 8x return, but at what point is like more money not really equating to, like, you get a diminishing rate of return at some point.
Yeah, totally. Could you like find 10 more of those places?
That would not be a bad idea. We've reached out to some, and they just don't seem as receptive to have a preferred agent program.
Okay.
But it probably wouldn't be a bad use of like one day of just like making that my focus.
I mean, for a 4,000% return on investment, that's not terrible. I don't disagree with your open houses at all. However, we're going to talk about this when we get to your team, right?
Yeah.
Um, if I had scale, right? If I had 50 open houses every single weekend, I would make sure I had 50 agents at every single open house possible, right?
Yeah.
Because that's just money on the table. But this one here, this Avery Point Senior Facility, I would be curious, like, what was your sales process to get the one?
Dumb luck.
Dumb luck, love that.
Yeah.
What would it take to get 10 more? That'd be one curiosity
Yeah.
thing to figure that out. Now, your geo farm, right? This is generally dollar in, dollar out, although there's not a ton of revenue. Is this a couple of deals on this one? On your geo farm? Is this a big part of the business or not really?
It's something, so that's one of those things like historically I was romantic about and it wasn't
Okay,
generating.
got it.
The problem there, self-diagnosed problem there, was I was just doing mailers and I was not doing all the other touches
Got it.
that we know actually bring the return. And
Yep.
so, yeah, that's something I'm revisiting.
Okay. So the things that I'm looking for are not necessarily the percentage of return, right? Because like, should you do more past clients and referrals? Yeah, for sure. Like an 800 some odd percent return. Can you do more events? Can you do more? Like if you spend 100 grand here, do you think you would get even more referrals? Probably, to be honest. Because this is the biggest dollar amount. But the biggest dollar amount that's like advertising spend, it looks like, is that's like an actual return would honestly probably be these two guys here, right? Because you're for sale. This is what I would consider um like expires and for sale by owners is what is like sweat equity. You have to do the work, you have to make the phone calls, you have to do all the things.
It's a time thing.
Yeah, it's just time. And whereas your Avery Point, your Geo Farm, maybe not so much your Geo Farm, it's kind of both. And your past clients is really that all of these things take time. So what a lot of agents I see that are heavily in production like you are, what you run into is this leverage problem
Yeah.
where so much of your business is tied up and you have to work more to make more, kind of expires, open houses, all that stuff falls into that category. So my 2 cents for you to kind of break through this next level would be to find a source that, or pick the source you already have that works, that is higher leverage.
I'm just gonna do
I
more
just
of that.
Yeah, I just like
Yeah.
that senior facility idea. And the reason I like that is you can make the relationship on the senior facility side. Maybe your sweat equity that you are doing, maybe you tie that in with like downsizing, right? Where you're finding people to feed these places. You're attacking the people that have lived in, attacking is probably the wrong word. You are looking to help the people that are 80 years old in a two-story bedroom or in a two-story house, that's 5 bedrooms that they don't need anymore. Those types of downsizers into that senior facility. I like that market a lot. I don't know your demographics. Maybe you have that, maybe you don't. Um, But if you're bringing and saying, hey, I'm going to help 50, 60 families move this year, and 30 of them are going to need to move into a senior facility, um, that I like that idea.
Yeah. One thing I'll note too is I'm finding the folks that actually can afford to move into these facilities that are like, 50, 60, 70 grand a year.
Yep.
They're usually coming from a high price point home. Like these aren't the people that are going to end up eating cat food in their elder years. Like these are,
Yeah.
yeah.
Are you saying that's a market you service or don't service or would like to service? What is that? What's the behind that?
That's a market I probably need to be more intentional in, because the folks that are moving into the senior facilities are coming from high price point. Like the ones that we have taken their listings, like they're always
Mhm.
at good price points.
Okay. All right. I'm earmarking that as I like that idea as far as
Yeah, I do too.
personal business side. I think the other thing would be just be more like, this is everybody always says this, so I won't spend any time on this, but like more time, more intention on what can you do with the SOI. When I say high leverage on SOI, yeah, you can do events and all this stuff there. Do you do anything with email?
We do. So we follow the listing leads playbook. We do a monthly email newsletter um, with a market update. One thing that I've identified that I need to be better at with the Sphere is just being more intentional of asking for the referrals, as dumb as that sounds. I found like I get into a bad habit of just like not asking for the business.
Yeah, easy
So
to do.
I think if I just did more of that, I could probably, you know, bump up our referrals a few percentage points.
Um, I think you probably know what I'm going to say here is I would take your monthly market update and make that one of your 52 emails you're going to send in a year, and I would make that weekly. Like highly, 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 highly recommend this, especially with this. You have what's your database size?
So we've got 20,000, humanoids in the CRM. As far as how many of those are past clients in Sphere, probably closer to like 600.
I would email the 20,000, figure out how many you have good emails. You'll probably narrow that list down to 10,000 or so. But I would do a weekly email. We get 40% open rates every single week on ours. And I'm not in production at all, but I guarantee you, if I needed to generate $100,000 in the next 90 days, I would just go down the list of the people that have been opening my email for the last year that are in our pond that nobody can talk to, and they would be 1,000% more inclined to talk to me than anybody else on our team, because I've been emailing them for the last 2 years.
What would you? What would be the content in that?
Topic. You're probably on ours, and I literally just think of the topic of like what is going on right now that I think is the most important topic that a consumer would need to hear. So you just said you have 20,000 people in your database. Imagine if you were to fill up your local college football stadium with your database, and you had 5 minutes to talk to the entire audience, right? Like spend the hour to figure out what would be the message you would want to send to your database this week, and be intentional with it, right? Take an hour, write out the email, and it's all text, right? You do get my emails, right?
So, question for you. So,
Yeah.
I'm signed up on listingleads.com and I'm sending out those emails.
Hmm.
I don't think we send every single one to the Sphere, because some of it's more like kind of lead engagement
Yep.
type content. But would you do that on top of what I'm already doing there?
Yeah, I would. Because listing leads is like more direct response marketing, right? It's, hey, I've got a new listing coming out. Respond if you want to see it, right?
So this
Hey,
is
I've got a
branded,
this is
brand
yes.
awareness.
And because you do so much business, these emails coming from you would be something like, I just helped a family last week that their house was in total disarray. They didn't have the money to fix it up. This was what I did to solve their problems. I did A, B, and C. Here was the outcome. P.S. If you know anybody that needs this type of help, let me know. And then for your referral, I would literally just have a PS,
Who do you know?
like lead gen. Yeah, like, and that's just every single week. I promise you did something interesting this week that if you had to talk in front of your whole 20,000 person database, you'd find something to say. That's very interesting. I say
Or
for me personally, like I make the excuse that it's hard for me because I'm no longer in production and I don't talk to customers at all anymore, and I still find something to talk about every single week. I just have to interview my agents and be like, hey, Mike, what's the pain point going on right now? Like, tell me a story. What was interesting? And we've run this for Carly 2 years now.
and we get absurd responses from it. Open rates, click rates. I mean, everything's like very, very high, and it's very high leverage.
Yeah, it'll be our third year in July, I'm pretty sure. And it's just text, it's simple. And we went from having like the pretty email to this, and those open rates were like maybe 10%.
12. Yeah.
Yeah, and now we're at like 40 on average. And our click rate's also high, like 2-3%.
Well, you know what I love about this too is I could just feed it into Gemini or ChatGPT, and it could probably, like, I don't have to be the writer. It can write it for me. I just got to feed it some of the meat, and then it can put it together. So I love it.
Yeah, you definitely can do that. I will say I'm not a huge fan of AI for writing, in the sense of, like, when I go to a Tom Ferry conference and the 200 people that are on my email list come up and be like, I get your emails. What company do you use? I'm like, I'm the company. I write the emails. That's why they're good.
Yeah.
So I would be careful with that. Just make sure it sounds like you, I guess, is the point, right? Because
Yeah.
know when you get an email from ChatGPT. The big thing that there's several points to this is, right now you're sending 12 market updates per year.
Yep.
And what'll end up happening is you're going to send 40 additional all value emails per year, right? So every single lead source that you do is going to get a lift because you're sending way more value than the average realtor.
Yep.
I mean, you're already doing way more value than the average realtor with your market updates, but just do 40 more. Also,
No, I love it.
we use film content, right? I see your YouTube channel. That'd be the other thing that I would say. Like, you have 1,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel, or 600.
600.
Do you get business from this?
So we just closed one, but historically, no, because it's
Yeah.
not a relocation style page. It's a information page. But I do think it helps with brand awareness and
For sure.
authority and, goodwill and all those things.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely doesn't hurt, right?
Right.
My thought there was, on these 40 additional value emails you're going to send every single week, this is also one of our pillars of content. So, like, I'm going to write the email. That email is the video script, and then we film the video and post that on all the things as well too, right? So you'll get a 4x lift on content there also.
Is what day are you sending them out, or is that not even relevant?
Testing is the correct answer. We send our consumer email out at a really odd time. We send it out at 5 p.m. Friday, something like that, and it doesn't really deliver until like 6, 7, 8. But I would test is the right answer.
It's so funny. I sent out an agent-facing one, and MailChimp, I let MailChimp send it when it thought, and it was like Friday at 8, and I was like, this sounds like the dumbest thing in the world, but whatever. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it works for us to send it in the evening. Why? I don't know. Maybe because people are actually like available. They can actually read it.
Yeah.
Also, because maybe we've been doing it for 2 years and it doesn't matter anymore because they're expecting it. Carly, you can chime in with your 2 cents.
The open rate also like stays pretty steady over the weekend, and it jumps up on Monday too. So like, even though it's delivering Friday at 5 or like 8 p.m., people are going into their inboxes on Monday and finding that email and still reading it. So I think I think we've learned testing's important, but it's really about the content. We send a team leader newsletter Wednesday at 5 p.m., agent newsletter Thursday at 5 p.m., and then the consumer newsletter Friday at 5 p.m. All of those have pretty much the same open rates, except the team leader one's way higher. And it doesn't really matter when we send it. We've sent it out Saturday and we still get the same performance.
Yeah. Well, to your point, like, when it's actually valuable and you train people to look forward to it, then I think it's like,
it'd be well worth it's going to take you an hour to write the email. And maybe if you do content, it'll take you a total of 2 hours to do it. It'll be the highest leverage thing you do, which we need to add leverage to your business. That's the one thing I see. At the end of the day, there's only 3 different ways to make more money as an agent. You can sell more houses, you can raise your average commission, which is either price point or percentage, or that's it. Right? Those are the 2 ways to make more money: do more deals or raise your commissions. So,
or option 3, you do both.
Yeah. That one's really fun. I like both lead sources, but finding something of leverage, if it's not the senior facilities, that's totally fine. Um, yeah, I mean, that's where that's what I would do. Also,
That,
I mean,
that's
you're,
it's so
yeah,
smart because we used to do a weekly one, but it was also like a highly produced, kind of
yeah,
pretty
doesn't work.
with the video. Yeah, and it kept going down. Then I finally just said screw it. But you're absolutely right. We need a weekly value add email that makes all the sense in the world.
And then that's content you post everywhere as well too, right? That's like with that size database, that's a no-brainer. I would say massive pro tip here would be have a past client one or like a VIP newsletter. Maybe it's more intimate with just your past clients, people that refer you business, a VIP, whatever. And that might be a more intimate message. And you don't need to send that on a regular cadence necessarily. But if you have something really special you want to share with your tight knit people, maybe you just send that to the 500-600 people that you mentioned out of that 20,000. Just an idea.
Would you now you got my wheels turning? Would you almost even position it as like, hey, this is a behind closed doors kind of like, here's how we got our client 50 grand more for their house. By the way, don't tell anybody. So it kind of feels like they're getting something that the world isn't.
I would make that'd be a fantastic general newsletter for everybody. I don't like gatekeeping any information, I think is what people call it. I put everything out there. I mean, as you know,
Yeah.
everything out there is totally free. You want to give as much value as possible so people want to come in and grab whatever the information is.
Yeah.
The what I would do for the VIP is more not like one-to-one personalized, but more personalized to, hey, you are my VIP, like I'm talking to you are a VIP client. Here is something special. Here is whatever. I
So like
don't know
a
what that is.
like a
Yeah,
bonus of some sort.
for sure. Yeah, and that could be like maybe you do an event, maybe you do quarterly events, and you're talking around stuff like that. Maybe you're doing some sort of giveaway. Maybe it's a charity thing. Maybe it's some sort of partnership. Maybe whatever. Right. I like that idea a lot.
I love this. I love this because I'm always trying to develop more attract versus chase business.
Yeah.
But you got to put good stuff out to actually attract people.
Yeah, and this is high for leverage. I would say I don't want you to focus on more than like one or two things, honestly, but if the senior facility thing isn't like if that's not the thing, you already have a really good foundation with your YouTube channel. I wouldn't be opposed to you going more in on that. Like that you have 600 subscribers, that's a solid foundation.
In what way would you go? So what I was doing before was I was doing a weekly video, right? But it just became so taxing because I had to like pull something out of my ass, you know, every single week, or like, we had to shoot the five videos once a month. Plus it was just the cost of like, having the videographer and then having it professionally edited. And because I wasn't seeing any business directly from it, it also became a little bit, hard to defend that
Yeah,
expense.
the cost.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
I like the
disagree.
idea of the email newsletter though, because that's nothing but a little bit of time.
Yeah, I would do that and then film videos on the topic, and then we can revisit YouTube at a later date.
Yeah.
The short there is if you just want to have something in the back of your mind to not do, um, is what everything we've learned about the YouTube channel is you want to have one topic only. And so like the moving to, living in, and relocation channels, like that's all you really can do. Or market updates. Like your whole thing is market. I'm looking at your channel, like every video that has the most views is a market update. I don't know if that's because you ran ads on them maybe at one point in
We're,
time, but
yeah, we're running retargeting ads to the
okay,
database as well as to a geo farm with those.
gotcha. Which that's fine too. So that would be my one like kind of side thought. If you have additional time and effort to put after I think the email's the no-brainer thing for you to do.
Yeah.
All right, let's pivot to team because I know you've only got 10 minutes or so. Um, you're starting from fresh with your
Mhm.
team.
Yep.
The first thing we need to make sure you're doing is you have to create the offer. So why would an agent join your team? Right? That like we both follow Hermosi. open his $100 million offer book, follow that blueprint, and figure out what the offer is to an agent that would join you. And the goal is you want to make sure that you make the offer so clear to the right person that it's a no-brainer for them, and it should repel everybody else.
Yeah.
So for example, for our team, like we say agents that are a good fit for our team are willing to follow a proven process and put in the work required. If somebody does not want to follow any proven process, they want to be left alone, do whatever the hell they want, that's fantastic. You can go to any other brokerage in the world and do that. That's not how we do business. And we lose agents all the time because we're not like a, Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, do whatever you want type brokerage. But that's not who we want to serve at all. That's like our offer doesn't make any sense for those agents. And same thing for part-time, same thing for hobby agents or whatever. That doesn't fit for us. So you need to figure out what your actual offer is going to be. Yeah, I have a YouTube video on this as well too. Carly just posted that. Does that make sense so far?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. So here's kind of the framework, if you will, to walk through this, which this video goes in way more detail. I'll give you the short version right now, is figure out exactly who you're talking to, right? Your avatar. Number 2 is figure out what is their, I'll use Alex's words, your dream outcome or their dream outcome.
Yep.
Number 3 is you list out all problems. Right. So I'll just use a random example. Let's say your ideal avatar is a full-time brand new agent that wants to learn from a rock star like yourself. Right. Okay. What's their dream outcome? Well, they want to learn a lot and they want to be able to make at least, I don't know, 75K, right? Like let's say 75K, no risk, learn from a pro, right? That's like the dream outcome. What are all the problems that this person has? Well, problem number 1 is they have no leads. Problem number 2 is they don't know what to do, right? Problem number 3 is they need to make money in the next 90 days. Problem number 4, so on and so on. List every problem you can think that avatar would run into. Does that make sense so far?
Yep.
Then you're going to make a solution for each one of those, right? So if problem number 1 is they don't have any leads, fantastic. You're going to, you have leads, let's just say, which you have a database of leads. Number 2 is they don't know what to do. You have training. Right. And this is ideally we're gonna figure out what your proven process is, right? Whatever you do is your proven process.
And I would imagine it's problems they perceive from their vantage point they have versus like the problems that I see, because it's
Correct.
Yeah.
Don't prescribe them what their problems are. Like think of it as, what brokerage you at? Keller Williams?
Yeah.
Yeah, like walk out in the bullpen and look at if the new agent is the avatar, just go like, what are the biggest problems you face? They're going to say, I don't know what to do. I don't have any leads. I don't know anything. Whatever.
Nobody loves me.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to have a mentor, and I don't. Whatever it is, right? And you're gonna all of the problems that they face, you will come up with a solution for all of them. Now, the major important thing here is you do not have to do all of the solutions, right? You are just listing out, let's say, for example, somebody says like, I need to make money in the next 90 days. That would be a problem for most of these agents. You could say, well, I'll put you on salary. You're not going to do that, but that would be a solution to that problem, right? So you want to get the brain juices flowing to solve all of the potential problems. Now, step number 4 is you are going to rank all of these solutions with a value / cost. So what that's going to look like is you're going to say, okay, let's use the first one, for example, leads. Leads are high value and they are high cost, right? Number 2, training your proven process. This is very high value and low cost, right? And what you're going to look at is you're going to have this is why you want all the problems, all the solutions, is you want to stack as many high value, low cost things as possible, and then sprinkle in where your financial model allows the high value, high cost stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So then number 5 is basically like creating or picking your offering. And then 6 would be like naming it. So once you have that, do you have questions on that? And I'm trying to be mindful of your.
Yeah, no, it sounds like one of those things I just need to go through the exercise.
100%.
Yeah,
And like it might
conceptually,
take
I
a
understand
weekend.
it. Yeah.
It might take a weekend, but that'll be the best thing you do there.
Yeah.
Now, also, you have to keep in mind your financial model, right? So if you're telling me you want to run a 40% profit margin, right? This is probably mostly your personal business and all of that. The other exercise I would highly, highly recommend you do, because you said 3 agents, I would figure out how much money you want your team to actually make. And then what I would figure out is how many agents do you actually need in order for your company to make that much money, right? And that exercise is, as opposed to pulling the number 3 out of a hat, is that exercise will share like, hey, if I want to make, like you're doing $1 million in production, you want to make 750 GCI. If you want your team to generate 500 of that, you can do the math to figure out how many agents you have to have. Right. And you're going to figure that for gross profit company dollar, an agent, the easy ballpark number is, let's just say $40,000.
As far as
And
like each agent is going to bring in 40,000 in company dollar.
yeah, that's a pretty safe number based on me talking with a lot of team leaders and obviously our numbers too. So that if you wanted to make, let's just make it 400,000 for a round number in company dollar from the team, you would need 10.
Yeah.
And then to get to 10 agents, you'd probably need to hire 20.
Yeah.
Maybe not 20, but at least 15. And that will give you more realistic expectations as far as, all right, if I want to hire 20 agents this year, I need to hire 1 every other week, right? So 0.5 per week. And then the question is, you know how to do buyer and sell. Like if I said, Chris, how do you do buyer deals? Like lead generate, conversations, appointment, deal, right?
Yeah.
No different with recruiting. Recruiting is just lead, appointment, sign, right? With several different steps in between. Your sales process is going to look different, obviously, on recruiting than it is on buyer seller, but effectively it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So you just need to figure out how many leads you need to generate to get to the 20 for the year. And I'm kind of giving you kind of round numbers, but I don't know how much of that 750 you said you wanted in company dollar this year. I don't know how much of that came from the team. I'd probably want to get a little bit more clear on that to figure out how many you should actually shoot to hire.
Yeah.
But figuring out your offer is the first step to the team for sure. I wouldn't do anything until I knew that, like at all. I would, if you have a job posting up trying to hire somebody, I'd just take it down until you have the offer.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I know you got to go, so let's just do kind of wrap up closing thoughts, and then I'll do Q&A with everybody that's in here if they have questions afterwards. Obviously, you'll get the recording.
I appreciate it, man. Closing thoughts from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the time. It's it's always valuable because as with a lot of things, like you just can't see the forest through the trees, or the trees through the forest, whatever that saying is. So you're absolutely right. Like the high leverage opportunity, the high leverage, low cost opportunity is getting more senior communities. So like if I was smart, I'd spend more time with that. The weekly email is a no-brainer. And I bought, like, as you were talking, I was thinking of like 2 or 3 topics. And I'm sure if I made myself do it on a weekly basis, like I'd manage to pull something out of my backside. And then, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like I've got to have a very clear offer that I've already figured out who my avatar is, but I've got to have a very clear offer to where when I stumble upon the right person, I'm able to make an offer that makes sense to them. Yeah, and I just need to slow down long enough to do it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
You can do that in a day, especially if you already know the avatar. That's easy. That's the hard part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Figuring out the problem solution and the offer stack. That part becomes way more clear once you start writing down what all their problems are, what other solutions are. It'll be very clear, like, this is going to cost way too much money to offer. I can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. That absolutely makes sense. Dude, thank you for your time, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send you over my notes. Go crush your appointment,
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
make
sir.
some money, and I'll talk to you later.
All right, bud. See you, buddy.
Later, man. I will open up for everybody else for Q&A if you guys want. There's a handful of us in here. If you guys have any thoughts on that, or wanted some input, or what you took from there that you might want to implement in your business.
Talk about those senior communities. Is that an opportunity that someone like me, almost being a senior, might be missing?
Yeah, Mara on our team is going after the same idea. So it's a business to business relationship, which you obviously know very well. The idea is that people go into senior facilities, and the pain point is, if there's a pain point, the pain point is often the equity or money to sign up for a senior facility is locked in the home, and it needs to be sold. And oftentimes somebody that's moving to a assisted living facility doesn't have the money, resources, time, effort, help to sell a home that's not turnkey, and that's a pain point. So just like I was telling Chris to create an offer around the agents for his team, if we would have gone more into the senior assisted the senior facility thing, I would have said the same thing. I would have said you should make a clear offer of what you offer to their customers, right? Because you're not pitching to the customer necessarily. You would want to say, hey, for I have a my last move program, and it is where you have a elderly person that's probably downsizing, and they want to move into an assisted living facility. And what I do is I have an estate sale, I have, hoarder, I have cleaning things, I have, first impressions, I have buy before, I have all these different things that we do, and this is our package that we do for those people. And if you want to offer our services to your clients, we can have a business relationship, and I'd be happy to refer people to your guys' place as well too. So one, create the offer, and not just like, hey, I'd love to sell houses for the people that move in here, right? Because that'd be what every agent would do. So you want to stand out. And the second thing is just building those relationships. So like you said, he drops off Chipotle once a month, probably. Like, what I didn't get a chance to say to him is, I believe, if I remember correctly, he has an assistant of some sort that's in office. Like, they can do that, right? They could say, hey, I'm dropping off this on behalf of Chris, and she could just go do 25 in a day and do that once a month or whatever. Handwritten notes, right? That whole thing. You know how to do a business to business relationship for sure.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that's huge opportunity. Now, I
I
think
like
the
it.
flip side with the assisted living facility is you don't want to make it a one-side relationship. So it mirrors very well, especially for, this is why I mentioned it for Chris, is and I didn't know he was doing this beforehand, but he does a lot of listing business. I'd say 60-70% of his deals are listings. And if he was to be more intentional on going after a downsizing demographic, he could be very valuable to moving maybe 5 to 10 people a year into a facility. And the value of those people moving into a facility is enormous, right? It's way more than a commission on a real estate deal. So they would be very, very happy if he could direct traffic to their facility.
Cool.
So yeah, you
Cool.
could totally do that.
Yeah, I like it. Where's Mara working? What areas?
I think she's doing more of the NorCal stuff.
Oh, okay.
North OC. She's doing
Yeah.
she lives in Anaheim Hills, Carly, I think.
Oh,
I
okay.
think she lives in
Cool.
Orange, Anaheim Hills area.
Orange Jam. Okay.
Yeah, so I think she's focusing more up there. But there's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
freaking many of them. I mean,
Yeah.
they're building them like they're building Chick-fil-A's. They're all over the place.
There's
Yeah.
one right by our office.
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
door
right
knock if
across
you
the
walk
street
to
there.
it.
That's right. Okay, cool. I like that.
For sure. Anybody else have anything? Got a few others on here. Mike, feel free to ask more if you got more questions.
No, not right now.
Cool. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys hopping on. And if you, I'm going to post this recording once I get it all figured out. I'll see if I can get the screen recording from my laptop on here as well. But I'll post it in the community. But thanks, guys, for showing up. Appreciate it.